First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Dibler. Thank you very much for joining us. We are live streaming here in the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom as we do every weekday. Starting at 1 p.m. we go throughout the afternoon. We get to have longer form discussions and in-depth talks just going into some of the big issues that we're covering here. And Adrian's here to help us out with one of those. And this is one that we have been covering very in-depth, as have many other people, just following along with this case, talking about the National Guard trial that happened last week.
Yes.
And this has to do with the legality of the Trump administration sending in National Guard troops, federalized National Guard troops, into the city of Portland to that ICE facility.
Yeah. And today, which is why I'm here, we are expecting a decision that could come basically from now until 5 p.m. The judge in the case, Judge Karen Immergut, said, in an order last week after the trial that her decision would come by 5 p.m. today over the legality of whether the troops can be deployed or not. So that's what we're waiting on. The trial that played out last week played out over 3 days. There were arguments from the Trump administration's Department of Justice against the state of Oregon, city of Portland. The Trump administration saying that the National Guard was obviously needed in Portland because of the protests against immigration enforcement, specifically down on the south waterfront outside of the ICE facility, and the city of Portland, state of Oregon, saying that the protests did not meet the threshold of needing federal intervention. So that's what this case was all about.
Yeah, 3 days of that and a lot leading up to it until we got to that point even. But each side, counting it up, it's, I believe, over 24 hours of testimony, or around 24 hours of testimony.
It was a lot, and you had different people from local law enforcement to federal law enforcement giving testimony, really just each giving their own anecdotes about how they felt the situation was unfolding on the ground. But the decision today, obviously very highly anticipated, and we can certainly expect, however way the judge rules, whether she rules in favor of the federal government or in favor of the state of Oregon and city of Portland, the opposite side will certainly appeal that decision.
Yeah, whatever that case may be. Now, we have this case, essentially this step anyway, probably coming to an end here, with appeals going on.
Correct.
So it's not like this ends, but this portion of it. But there's also still the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Yeah, correct.
Could you explain now?
So that there's still, where we're at right now with that, it's interesting because the appellate judges for the appeals court initially said, okay, the troops can deploy to Portland while the lower case still plays out. But then there were other judges on the Ninth Circuit who stepped in and said that they would like to have an en banc hearing, which is essentially a larger hearing of more appellate judges to discuss that issue. But now that we are about to get a decision from the lower court judge, a final decision essentially, how the appellate court proceedings may or may not play into that is kind of a legal gray area at the moment. What's going to be the determining factor now is the final decision on the case from the lower court judge.
Gotcha. So this is going to be kind of the big thing for this step in this process. And I think, the real question I think a lot of people have is, depending on how this ruling goes, again, we'll find out sometime by 5 p.m. today, presumably, unless something drastic changes. Would this lead to, say the judge favors on the side of the Trump administration who wants to send in troops? If she decides that's legal, would that mean that troops could be on the ground right away in Portland?
It's hard to say, but they have remained, essentially federalized throughout this whole process, but haven't deployed yet. So unless there was some order that came down, right after the judge's decision, if she did rule in favor of the government, unless some order came down and said, hey, get out there tomorrow, it's hard to say how fast they would actually mobilize and show up here. And if the judge were to rule in favor of the Trump administration, that's something, journalists here and around the country who are following this case would immediately go to the Oregon National Guard and be like, hey, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Are there orders right now? And so,
find out at that point.
Yeah, it's very much a fluid situation, if that were to happen.
And there's not a lot of precedents to really go on for this either.
No. This is a very unique situation.
Yeah, which it has been just following along with this. And so if it seems complicated at times, it is complicated.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into this, but that's why we've been trying to just, sum it up for you, at least for the basic parts. So the key things to know here right now, right at this moment, 2:07 p.m. Pacific time here on November 7th, we are awaiting that verdict by 5 p.m. that the judge has put in as the deadline. So as Adrian said, could come any minute, could come in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But we'll at least have that part, presumably, unless something drastically changes, we'll at least have that part here this afternoon, and to know that, and then from there you can ascertain, all these other steps. But the one thing that it does seem to be pretty safe to say is going to happen is that whatever side is going to appeal.
Yeah, and then that would essentially start a whole new appeals process. So that's why there already was, certain legal questions playing out in the higher appellate court on whether troops could come here while the larger trial played out. But because we will get a fresh new decision tonight, and if and when the opposing side appeals that would start the appellate process all over again. So everything that had been previously appealed, hypothetically could be considered moot, which is a legal term for meaning, irrelevant at that point.
So just kind of throw that out.
Yeah. So the appeals process is kind of contingent upon what is going to happen tonight.
All right. So a lot to know tonight, and we'll have that info for you. Like if this happens between now and 4 p.m., we'll be back here with Fox 12 Now, getting you that information, but certainly during our 4 p.m. news, we'll have that as well. And we'll have all, analysis of what that means, but we have also a lot of information at KPTV.com. If you want to go there and really dig into this and take a look at some of the different things that have been said, even some of the testimony that happened last week, there was some pretty illuminating things as far as the thinking on the Portland police side, the thinking on the ICE side. A lot of information came out from that trial. We've got things at KPTV.com, so you can really get into that as much as you want to, or if you just want the summation of just what does this mean, we'll get that for you as well. And that's what Adrian has been doing, of going through all of these documents, and many documents.
Resident constitutional law scholar.
Yeah, there we go.
Or at least I'm trying to be.
Yeah, I've seen it stacks up. I mean, it's so much paperwork. So thanks for doing that.
Of course.
To sum it up for all of us. And thanks to everybody for joining us. So this is Fox 12 Now. As I mentioned, we're live streaming here. So if you're watching on our YouTube channel, you'll see this video end. And feel free to download the Fox 12 Oregon app. Great way to watch all of our stuff. If you're on the app, we've got a lot more for you here throughout the afternoon, but we are going to take a break. So thank you, Adrian, and we'll see if I'm talking to you again here within an hour and a half. Who knows? But for right now, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.